Thanks, mate.
Right, you know my sense of humour. Wait for a few people coming on, mate.
Right, I just share it.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to get a tush.
Is anyone there, please? Not once for yes and twice for no. Yeah, just to see if you can hear us, guys.
Right, just share it onto Facebook and then.
Yeah, it's one on.
No, we're on.
Thumbs up for it, see if you can hear us. Well, see if you can hear us. And hear us. Yeah,
there we go. We've got a few on now.
Yeah, come on. There's one, they're on.
There will be.
I'm going in a minute.
We've only got 3 minutes to do this. Yeah, we're okay with sound. Yeah, Simon Amber. All right, Simon. Yeah, brilliant, mate. God bless you.
Cool.
There must be more than 3. Come on, guys. Where are you?
They will.
They just took it into the dinner.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I've just had a brilliant tea, mate. Haven't we?
Yeah.
Well, I haven't had eaten.
We've had a pasta with spinach and meat on it.
Yeah,
plenty of iron in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff in it.
Yeah.
There's a few more. Hi guys, everything all right?
Victoria Speller. I thought she'd be there.
Is she one of your friends?
Yeah.
Yeah, good friend.
Very much so.
Bradley Edwards, brilliant guy. Right, Bradley's son. Always speaks to us. Always respectable, lovely person. That's what you need in the world. Nice people like these.
I only have the good people in my life.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You know, supporters.
Right. It's me, Brian Cockerill, as you know, on the Taxman Show. We've got the amazing Steve Norton. Welcome back again, Steve.
Welcome,
by
Brian.
Popular demand, by all you asking for him. He is a fantastic guy. I've known him a long time.
No problem.
Steve, what we're going to talk about today?
Anything you want, Brian, to be honest. Nothing's really off limits. Mental health, men's mental health.
Yeah.
All types of mental health. You've got any questions, just ask away.
Right, I'm going to ask everyone, where were you born?
I was born in sunny Middlesbrough.
Right.
Born and bred.
Right.
Roughly on the Weebanks area of.
So you know Kev Kilty and all them.
I know Kev Kilty
and
really
Teddy
well. Yeah,
yeah.
I can say plenty of stories about Kev.
What was it like growing up in them days?
It was good, you know, good community spirit, good people. Back in the days of leaving your doors open, everybody knew each other.
Was that a true thing then? You could leave your doors open?
Yeah, definitely you could. Yeah, you know, we were quite well known. My mum and dad in the area.
Right.
You know, my mum was people used to fear my mum. She was like quite a feisty woman back in the day.
Right.
But yeah, really good area.
Do you think it was better than the discipline and things what you got off your mum and dad than they do now? I think it's been lost a little bit.
Well, is there any discipline now?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm coming to you.
No,
we were at cool school, we'd get the cane, wouldn't we?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Best thing that ever happened. There was always the fear of it rather than the reality of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like my mum used to say to people, you know, if my mum caught anyone swearing, she'd have this wooden spoon. She'd say she'll wash your mouth out with domestic and stuff. Thing is, she never ever did it. But it was the thought of it that was always worse than the reality of it.
Yeah, I'd just say, well, I know someone who got their mouth washed out.
Right.
And it was my wife by a mum.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but you're right. The deterrent is more than actual. It's like when you're going to have a fight with someone, the fear of going for the fight is worse. Once you've had the fight, the fear's over.
That's right.
Anxiety's over, you know. So.
Well, do you remember the first time you got the cane?
Yeah.
You worried about that cane, and when you actually had the cane, it was like, really? Is that it?
Yeah.
But it was the thought of it, wasn't it?
I was like, having the cane again.
Yeah.
Having the cane, having a tough guy. Yeah. So, what were you like at school? Any sports or anything you do?
I was terrible at sports.
Right.
I was the person at school who. Do you remember that on the football lineup?
No one would pick.
I was the one who wouldn't pick. I was the donkey at school. I was the one that was like, I was like the booby prize.
I'm not having him in mark.
I was never a team player.
Right.
Because I was no good at rugby. I was no good at football or anything like that.
Right.
The things I'm always been technically decent at, I'm not brilliant at, bad anyway, it's like lifting weights.
Yeah, I know that. I've done for a long time.
Boxing, a little bit of boxing. Not like I say, not brilliant by any means, but I don't know. I always think things that I can rely on by myself. I've always been pretty good at.
Yeah.
Mm.
You don't need no one to do boxing on a bad day and
do No, definitely not. No.
Yeah. So what was it like at school? Were you popular at school?
Not particularly.
No.
I was.
Any bullying around?
I think I wasn't unpopular, but I was a little bit of a strange kid because like a lot of people with anxiety, I had anxiety from a very early age.
Right.
So, but one of the things that people do when they've got anxiety is that they're very good at masking it.
Yeah.
So my way of masking my anxiety and insecurities was with humour and being the class clown messing about all the time and being quite disruptive. And that was my way of actually just like coping with it.
Right. I think it's worse now with these online trolls, because when you were a kid at school, you go home, you get that, you know, we get away from it. Now you can't get away, because when you go home, you've got the phones texting you. But we looked at a survey about kids being bullied. 80% of kids who are bullied, who kill themselves, are online getting bullied. Absolutely. And it's absolutely disgusting. And it says if you're verbally bullied, I think it's 5.1 chance of committing suicide, and it's 8.3 if you've of a computer off a phone. So it's really bad, isn't it?
It is. Do you know what? I've heard stories of kids that have come to see me, and I've literally been holding in the tears. The psychological torture I've seen on some of the kids these days, of like, because they all, when I was at school, yeah, we had groups of friends, but we didn't have these, like, there was like certain groups they got now, and it's like,
yeah,
and they're almost like, because they know that there's certain things they can and can't do, like you can't punch anyone.
Yeah.
But what you can do is exclude someone and make sure that nobody else who's not in that group can't talk to them.
Yeah.
And that person literally every day goes to school by themselves, and they're in the playground by themselves.
Yeah.
And honestly, the stories,
really bad, isn't it?
the stories I've heard, absolutely horrendous.
I heard one about, me and my wife read about, there was a young girl, and there was another 5 or 6 girls telling her to get these tablets and tape. She went and took them, took the overdose, and died while they all watched her.
Online.
Online.
Yeah.
That's absolutely disgraceful, you know. I think the schools need to do something about it. I think they need to teach them what you're doing is wrong.
Yeah.
Because it's all right to have maths and English and all these other things. I think they need to teach them about this bullying at school. I think it's getting out of hand now. It's really bad, and it's the cyberbullying thing at North Yorkshire Police and that are all on board now, trying to stop it. It's really, really bad. It's getting out of hand. People to sit at home all day trolling people, going on these false accounts. That's what they call a troll, when you change the account to another account, different account, and to do that all day long. There must be, like you said, there must be something wrong with them.
Well, at the end of the day, why do people do it?
That's what I like.
So someone who's happy in their life doesn't do the trolling. Someone doesn't bully someone when they're happy. So it is a reflection on their life, and that's why people bully.
Right.
And it's a way of like deflecting it off them. So someone who's got that unhappy like home life,
yeah,
will take it out on someone else. They look for someone that's weak,
yeah,
easy to manipulate. They never bully the hardest guy at school. You know, it's always the one that they think they can get away with it.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is they're really just deflecting their unhappiness onto someone else. And that's really, so obviously the bullies themselves, they need to be looked at and find out what's creating this in the first place.
Yeah.
The thing is, at school, it's different. You can't bully the hardest, but they can bully me because it's on a computer. They can bully anyone. Yeah. Like John Elite, we talked to, the American lad who was in the mafia. Yeah. Even he was getting the type of bullying onto line. He said, but nobody says now to his face, like you've just said, nobody's going to come down to my door. No. It's just all bravado and rubbish and trying to look good to the friends. Look, I done that to him last night. Yeah. But really, there's people who are doing it aren't happy inside, are they? They're not. They're broken.
Oh, right, you've been around long enough, right?
Yeah.
How many truly hard men do you know go around saying what they're going to do?
No, you never see it. You just do it.
So the moment anyone says that I'm going to do Brian Cockerill in, right, it's the moment that, you know, it's the words of an idiot, isn't it? It's truly hard people, you wouldn't even see it coming. They just do it.
Yeah, it's like the time when I got beat up and Tommy's when they all jumped me. You don't hear you're going to get it. It's I'm going to get it. They phone me up. I'm watching Coronation Street or whatever, and go, "You're dead." No, I'm not watching Coronation Street. Or I might get one tonight, but no, I'm not with Steve. We're doing the podcast. But they're just idiots when they're just and then when you pull them and you find out who it is, they just don't come anywhere near you. They're just, but the art is a mirror reflection of what they're doing to other people. It
is, and you know, I find in life it's people that say they're going to do something are the ones that never do it.
Yeah.
You know, and I always say to people, and I say to my clients, never be that I'm going to be person. I'm going to do it. Just tell people when you've done it. You know, if I'm going to do something in my life, I never say I'm going to do this, Brian. I'm going to write this book. I'm going to create this thing. When you hear about it, I've done it.
Yeah.
You know, there's people all the time. I'm going to do this, going to do that. You know, they never do nothing. They might as well say they're going to fly a rocket to the moon.
But some of them say that and believe it.
I'll pay for them. You'll do it.
No fuel to come back. Stay there. So, Steve, did you have any qualifications or anything?
I didn't have much at all.
Right.
because of my anxiety at school and my
How
inability.
bad was it? Was it on a scale of 1 to 10?
And it was.
Sounds like I'm talking to you, talking to somebody else.
I know, yeah. No, it was on and off at times.
Right.
Sometimes it was quite severe. Sometimes it wasn't that bad. It was on and off. And like a lot of times when people tell you about anxiety, they will say they'll go through periods almost at times where they don't have it, and you're almost like feeling you've cracked it.
Yeah.
But then something else will like trigger it off again.
My brother used to get it with the one little thing and be saying, "I'd be saying, don't say to someone, don't say that," and they'll start him off. You know, one little thing would start him off. You know, it could be like, there's an airplane coming or something. I said, don't mention airplane because whatever, it'd be, as you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Did you have any trigger things that would set yours off?
Just life basically. And
were you one of these always thinking about something over and over again?
Well, that is anxiety in a nutshell.
Yeah,
it is. Anxiety is the condition of imagining what you don't want to happen in the future. It is an imaginary world of danger over everyday tasks.
Yeah. You get up done and they say, right, what if I cross the road and I get knocked over? What if an airplane comes knocks me blood? What if this, what if? And I think I read somewhere it was something like 97% of what you think doesn't happen.
That's right.
So why waste time on what do you know what's going to happen? It's not going to happen.
Well, when you think about it logically, then okay. So when people think about what they don't want to happen and they think that they can control that,
right? Well,
then why not use it in reverse and think, well, I'll just think about what I want to happen instead.
I like that. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
You know, see when people talk like, what if? Like, what if that happens?
Yeah.
Well, what if it doesn't? What if it doesn't? What if it's fantastic?
Do they get anxiety because it hasn't happened?
Yeah. Well, it's almost like you start building a case for anxiety, and it's almost like you're, in the end, you want to get validated that, yes, I knew it would happen. But what you've really done in reality is actually planned to have anxiety and rehearsed it in your mind over and over again.
Yeah.
So when it happens, you're like, my God, look, it's happened.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. So you played it like a video. Yeah. I knew that was going to happen.
Because I used to think the worst possible thing.
Yeah.
Like scenario before I even did it.
And then when it happened, you say, I told you it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
But sometimes you'd have thought about the worst possible thing 1,000,000 times. That hasn't happened. But it'll happen once. And you refer back to that once it's happened. It's happened before when I thought about it.
Yeah.
But it never happened that other 1,653,000 times you thought about it.
Yeah. So
people know what I'm talking about when we're talking here.
Absolutely. It's like you've actually got no evidence to support it's going to happen, but that one time, it could happen. It could happen. Yeah, we can't deny it. It could happen, but if it does happen, it's probably because you've rehearsed it in your mind beforehand without realizing it, and you're actually planning it.
Yeah. It's like people having panic attacks. We've spoken about this before. We have a panic attack and I'm panic attack. So you've set yourself up like you said before. So have that panic attacks and you start, I have this panic attack. So you make your brain have the panic attack, and it's just that's anxiety as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Panic attack.
When you start to understand what the brain really does, so the brain is like is an ordering system.
Yeah.
So your brain right now is actually waiting for you to give it its next order.
Yeah.
So if you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to have a panic attack. I'm going to have a panic attack. Your mind is like the guy that works in the pizza shop. He's sat there waiting to get the order. So if you're constantly like planning and saying that's going to happen, this is going to happen, your mind sees that as a command, and it's going to do its damnedest to give you what you've predicted.
Yeah, your brain is just it is a computer, isn't it? It's a best computer.
It is.
But you can get like habits, can you, by doing the same thing, and you've got the OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. You keep doing it, and you'll do. We were talking about people counting threes, and everything has to be 3, and then I'll skip over there. I'm not standing on the paving stone, cracking it, and things like that. What is that about? Is that anxiety as well as a different?
So OCD is caused by an underlying anxiety, and it's like all the things. And this is really important to understand this. Yeah. That when people come to see me and they tell me about these symptoms they've got, they're quite surprised when I say to them, "I don't care about the symptom."
Right.
If you just treat the symptom like OCD, right. There's a cause that's causing the OCD. Right. So just treating symptoms when people come to see me, let's imagine I could just hypnotize you and say, from now on, Brian, you don't have OCD. What will happen is that would have a short-lived result. Yeah. Because I'm not actually tackling what the real problem is. Yeah. Is that the thinking process before OCD is out of sync. It's corrupted. Right. And that's creating and causing OCD. Right. So if you just treat OCD by itself, that's a bit like having a weed in your garden and say, right, I'm going to cut the head off that weed. Right, and that's going to be the end of it.
That's going to come back, isn't it?
But 3 weeks later, it's bigger than ever. Which is why a lot of people with anxiety, what happens is that they'll go from one symptom to the next. Like 3 months ago, I had health anxiety. That's now gone. Now I've got a problem with my swallowing.
Right.
And that's now I've jumped from one symptom to the next.
Yeah.
The symptoms, believe it or not, aren't as important as what you think.
No.
So when I'm working with people, I'm looking at the cause.
So how would you get over that type of thing?
How do you? Basically, it's teaching people how to reprogram their brains.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I do. It's like, yes, I'm a therapist, Bride, but what I'm really doing is teaching the thing that we should be taught at school that no one ever is, which is how do we run our brains right?
Right.
So when clients come to see me, I'm giving them a simple model of this is how you run your brain.
Right.
Go home, practice it,
right,
and you will start to create a habit of that.
You've ever heard of a Dr. Joe Dispenza? He's really clever.
Yeah, he's good.
He rewires the brain. He's really clever. He thinks your brain's a computer. And if you keep doing the same thing every day, you've got to stop doing because it's a habit that then becomes an habit. You've got to stop that habit. You've got to the brain can be refired because it's electrodes and neutrons, all them things start firing. So you can retrain your brain to stop doing what you're doing.
Absolutely.
That's what I did.
Somebody's asking, what if your anxiety makes you more angry? How can you control that?
Okay, so let's look at anger. What is anger? Anger is caused by expectations. So an expectation has not been met. And because of that, you've then reacted angrily to it. The problem with that is the expectation in line with reality? Did you expect someone to do something for you that they were never going to do it?
Right.
Are your expectations so high that you set them up to fail?
Right.
And then you're going to be angry about that or disappointed or frustrated. Anger is about 95% expectation. And obviously you've built up this like little bit of habit of a behavioral thing with that. So always lower the expectations and you'll be less angry.
Right. What's a way for when you get angry to just, when I used to get angry quite a lot, I'd count to 10 slow and it does work. You get to about 4 or 5 and
absolutely.
It works.
So here's the thing. So
but then it's 356.
So when we look at the mind and how we want to run it right.
Yeah.
So there's an eternal battle between all human beings, and the battle is the battle against your emotions versus your logic.
Right.
See, the thing with emotions is that they always get there first. We always feel first, and then sometime later the logic kicks in. It's like the story of the hare and the tortoise. So what you said there, Brian, is absolutely true. Yeah. So there's a gap between the emotional response and then the logic at times will be slower.
Yeah.
You've heard the saying, wise after the event. And that's exactly what's happening quite often when it comes to it. So what Brian said there is absolutely what I tell my clients too, is that I call it the pause. So that when you have an emotional response, rather than just acting upon that emotional response, you've got to let your logic catch up. And it can sometimes be a 10-second gap, like what Brian said, or it can be a little bit longer than that. But take a pause. Don't just react on the feeling, because the feeling's always going to tell you to do something that's a little bit rash. So it's understanding that when we look at the subconscious mind, Ryan, right?
Yeah.
So your brain, right? And what, you're 31?
Nearly.
31, something like that.
Yeah.
And your brain, right, has got accumulated massive amounts of files, right? You've got a gigantic hard drive in your brain. So sometimes when things happen, when your brain's looking for the right file to bring to the forefront and say, well, that's the appropriate way to respond, it will sometimes take a bit of time.
Right.
The problem with that is that the emotional response is instant.
Yeah.
So in the past, probably, when someone might have said something you didn't like, you might have instantly, boom, right? Yeah. Whereas now, you're taking a little bit of a sit back and you're going, okay, what is the most appropriate response to this?
Yeah.
And then that gives your brain the time to go through the hard drive and go, there we go, Brian. Yeah. That's the response.
I remember watching Van Damme, the kickboxer. It was a series, him and his wife. And I used to get people to cut me up and can't fucking smack it and jump and shout at them and everything. Yeah. And she went, let it go. Yeah. And she went, let it go. She said, what do you mean? He's just cut me up. I went, you're never going to see him again. You don't know who he is. Let it go. And since then, I always say, let it go. And if somebody jumped in front of that, I just
There's a song called that.
Yeah, just let it go. Let it go. And then we maybe have to get the car to sing it. Let it go.
We'll do it over with someone decent. Yeah.
Emma singing.
There's a few questions.
Yeah, fire away.
Simon Angler said he looked at his anxiety as a weakness and as a result it got more aggressive. Is there any way of coping with to stop panic attacks?
So when we look at panic attacks and what it really is, so anxiety is the body's way of saying, right, something in your life or your mind is out of sync, right? So you're going to get a sensation that says that this isn't right. So look at your entire life as like a pizza, right? A pizza, let's say, has 8 slices. It is evenly balanced. Now, when your life isn't balanced, you will get some sort of sensation from your body that will say it isn't balanced. You could call it anxiety. Now, if you ignore that sensation and keep, forging on with that thing that's not balanced right, it's going to tell you even more so it's out of balance. But if you keep ignoring it, before you know, you'll get a panic attack that's really trying to say, right, you haven't listened. Now I'm going to give you a panic attack.
Yeah.
So that's one way of understanding how panic attacks work, is that you've actually had signs and signals beforehand. And what you've actually tried to do is try to get rid of the feeling rather than asking yourself, well, why? Why am I feeling this way?
Right.
Yeah. Let's look at my life. Am I working too much?
Yeah.
Am I taking any free time? Am I relaxing? Or am I just forging through? Am I working like 16 hours a day? Whatever it is. Am I overthinking? Am I relaxing? You will find somewhere on your pizza that you will not be balanced, and that will be creating your body to get out of sync too.
So you could be over worrying about something.
Massively.
Oh, my mortgage, I've got to pay my bills, I've got to pay the car, or I've got to get the kids to school, all that. So that builds up and builds up in the end. So then it gives you the panic attack because you haven't stood. I think you have to take a deep breath and you step back and think, what's going on here? It's a bit like a train on the way, to my analogy. You push yourself too far, your body bends itself out, doesn't it? So you have to react to it.
I often say to people, the symptom of anxiety is your friend, and they'll say to me, what do you mean by that? How can it be your friend? I'll say, look, it's trying to tell you something about your life, right? Something's not right. So what everyone wants to do, right, is that when you get that feeling of anxiety, all they want to do is get rid of the feeling.
Yeah.
What you should be doing is saying, why am I getting this feeling?
Yeah.
Because it's actually giving you a very valuable message. If you were driving your car and your oil light came on, what would you do? You'd appreciate the message, because if you keep driving, that car's going to overheat and blow up.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't just cut the light, would you?
No.
So anxiety is the message quite often. It's telling you that there's something not right with your life.
Somebody's just said, Andrew Bird has said, evening all, this chat tonight makes so much sense. This man, I should listen to this 5 years ago.
Oh, it's very clever.
Someone sent me a day said about like, is the world crazy? I said, we're all crazy, but I'm just better at pretending I'm not. Yeah.
So what is it you actually deal with, Steve?
So every aspect of anxiety, really. The only thing we don't deal with is obviously the psychosis side of things.
Yeah.
That's a completely different thing altogether. But I work with just about every aspect of anxiety. And the biggest one these days, especially with COVID, is health anxiety. That is the biggest thing. Probably 50% of the clients I deal with are health anxiety.
Right.
Oh. What is that, them worrying about their health or worrying that they've got an illness or?
Well, I'll go through a little bit of the specifics of health anxiety. So health anxiety is the obsession when you're convinced there's something wrong with you. Right. And no amount of trips to the doctors, specialists, heart surgeons.
Is that like a hypochondriac type of thing?
No,
it's different.
I guess it was in the early stages that was known as that. But health anxiety, you see, before Google, right, everyone was a hypochondriac. Right. Now with Google, everybody's like researching their health all the time, and so the person with health anxiety is constantly going to the doctors all the time, getting checkups. Right. The doctor turns around and says, "Yes, you've got a clean bill of health." That person for about 1 day has a relief. Good.
Yeah.
But then I start thinking, well, what if the doctor got it wrong?
Yeah.
Is this doctor really a specialist? Maybe I'm going to go see someone else.
Yeah.
So I've had clients come to see me, and they've been all over the world, right? The world-renowned, heart surgeons, cancer specialists, and no matter what anyone tells them, they never believe it, because they always think, yeah, but I went online and I saw this story about someone who got told they got a clean bill of health. But it turned out the doctor got it wrong, and then they died of the cancer. That's like one person out of millions. That
well, there's people at the thing saying you've got cancer, you've only got 2 weeks to live, and then they've got, oh, you've got it wrong. You haven't got someone else.
My mum, she got told the same day as this lady that she had leukemia and they both got 6 weeks lifespan. And my mum refused to give up, and she refused to get a week or anything. She said, "I'm not losing my head." A positive mind was just unreal. The other lady gave up straight away. She died within 4 weeks. My mum couldn't understand why she was still alive 4 years later. So it shows you your mind can
Of course
be
it is. Your mind is the most
positive,
powerful thing in the world.
Well, I deal on a daily basis with suggestion. So
Yeah.
as a hypnotist, I use suggestion. It's not everything that I do. It is a small portion of what I do when I work with clients.
Do you hypnotise people?
Yes, I do. Yeah. Why do you think I'm on the show now? See you later. When Brian's gone.
Yeah.
Sleep. So suggestion is incredibly powerful. And when we look at the last 14 months living in the UK and all over the world, what have we been given for the last 14 months? Nothing but suggestion. Watch out for this, watch out for that, do this, do that. And that's incredibly powerful stuff. And a lot of people, they can almost like their own immune systems are starting to shut down through the power of negative suggestion.
Yeah.
You know, you go past a bus shelter, it's got it on about the stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say the word.
Yeah, of course.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So the power of suggestion is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
And you know, some people are suggestible to it, and if you tell that person that they've got an illness and they're going to die, that person will literally internally start to die.
Yeah, yeah. Because that's what the brains tell them, isn't it? So,
yeah, well, you're telling your brain actually. Your brain's took it and born.
So when did you decide to get into this into the stuff? Did you do any jobs before this?
Yeah. Well, for the last portion of my career, I was also a men's barber, and that's how I know Kev Kilty.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because I used to cut Kev's hair many years ago.
Right.
And all his mates, John Mack.
Oh yeah, John. Yeah.
A few of the guys who's come in. So, but it wasn't anything that it never really. As much as I enjoyed the job, what I really wanted to do was hypnotize people.
Right.
And when I was at school, I always had this, like a lot of people have this fantasy about hypnosis, don't they? Where they think, oh yeah, become a hypnotist and you can do this.
Tell the bank manager, give me all the money.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you never have to work.
But you'll come across the bank manager.
Be irresistible to women. God, none of that work. None of that work whatsoever. But what I did find was actually when I started to get in, I started to read about the mind.
Yeah.
And what I basically did, Brian, through educating myself was I learned how to reprogram my own brain.
Yeah.
So all the problems I had, like low confidence, anxiety, and stuff like that, through reading and understanding and educating myself, I actually reprogrammed all that negative bullshit, all that. You know, there's belief systems that we've got that we can't do this and can't.
Yeah.
All that early programming, and I managed to like.
That's at school, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're never going to be nothing. You
Never going to be nothing.
You can't spell. You can't do this. You can't do that. And
Yeah.
what do they know? You know. And that's what it is. You're right. We're programmed from as a kid.
Sure.
And everything we've done, it's in there, and it gives you anxiety anyway. The way they teach you, don't they?
Well, here's an important thing to understand about the mind is that between the age of 0 to 25, we've actually got a part of our brain not fully formed.
Yeah.
And that part of the brain is called the prefrontal cortex, and that doesn't fully develop until we're about 25. So all your experiences before 25 are seen through a brain that's not fully formed.
Yeah.
So let's say, for instance, you're about, I don't know, 7 or 8 year old, and one of your teachers has on a shit there, called you you're thick or whatever.
Yeah.
That in that young impressionable brain can actually become a belief that that person holds on to, and then becomes that person in an adult life.
Yeah.
And
I believe
that early suggestion that they've been given in that young sponge-like impressionable brain can actually start molding that child. But then as an adult, they're still running with the program.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, when I was at school, the teachers would call you because I had dyslexia. They didn't know what that meant them days. I mean, what a word to write, dyslexia for some people. How do you spell dyslexia? You couldn't even spell dyslexia. And so how you doing spelling tests? You couldn't spell. Yeah. You'd be putting this dummy and daft and everything, calling your names. And so when you come up, don't you think, I'm no good, mate, I can't do this, I can't do it. So you start growing up like that. So yeah, well, I've done what you've done, not as big as you've done. I've learned about the brain, and I do a lot of listening to psychologists and things like yourself, and it's all the same thing, in that you've got to reprogram your brain from what's been put into it.
And the thing with psychology, it is a minefield out there. And I must have, and back in the day when I was like 18, 19-year-old, I was literally every day ordering more books, more tapes, back in the day, tapes. Yeah. Trying to educate myself in the brain. Most of it was a pile of crap.
Yeah.
Absolute pile of crap. Yeah. But some of it was good. And the stuff that was good, I took it on board. And here's the important thing. Reading a book, listening to something is not going to change anything at the end of the day. you've got to put it into practice. The amount of times that people say to me, I've read every self-help book in the world, it didn't work. Well, a car doesn't work unless you get in the car.
Yeah.
It's just going to sit on the drive. You've got to drive the thing.
That's what I say to people with mental health issues. Ask me, I'm not trained. You can't help you if you want me to halfway. You've got to want to help. You can't just sit there and say, "Oh, can you help me get off drugs?" You have to want to get off the drug, or
Totally.
you've got your brain will not get off it. And there's another thing, people who get addictions, they get on it, they can't get off, because then they get off it for about a week. It's called the honeymoon period. Well, I'm off it now. I can control it. Press go, boom, back on, addicted again. So it's a bit like that. And it's like
that is one of the hardest things, Brian, that I deal with. Is my inbox is literally full of messages from people. Can you help my brother? Can you help my husband, my wife? They have got terrible anxiety. And I said, I cannot. And the amount of times that people think I can just ring people up and say, hi, you know, we've never spoke before, but you know, I've heard that you've got mental health problems.
Yeah.
I'll get, imagine that, someone ringing up and saying, I've heard you've got mental.
Yeah.
But then the messages I get, and I always say the same thing, you've got to want it yourself. You've got to be the driving force for all change. And I know that's quite scary at first, but there's nothing more scary really than staying the same.
Yeah, there's people sit in the house and they suffer from mental health, and because years ago, there's not wrong with me. Well, if there is, and you've got to get help. And I've had it myself, and Tyson's had it, Tyson Fury, and all these big tough guys. It doesn't matter how old you are. You could be 5 years old, you could be 95. And I say it's like, I've said this before, it's like you can sit there one day, it's a brilliant day, brilliant, when all of a sudden a storm comes. That's like mental health. You can be great one day, the next day you get up, boom, it hits you, but you've got to keep saying it's going to go, it's going to go, it's going to go, and it will go in the end.
You look at everything in life, even the toughest, hardest times of everyone's life, it always came to an end at some point. It will. In time, everything gets better.
Yeah.
But like what Brian was saying there, is that the idea that it's weak to ask for help. Anyone that knows me, right, know I'm a crappy decorator, right? You know what I mean? I'll get someone in to paint a door, right? I will screw that door up, right? But does that make me weak because I'm not that good at it? No. It just means that I'm not a decorator. So we all need someone to help us in whatever it is, whether you're a mechanic that you help someone with that or whatever.
Yeah.
It's no weak to ask for someone. Every time we go to the supermarket, we're asking someone for help and something.
Yeah.
So to ask for someone for some psychological help, all you're really saying is, look, I'm missing the information I need to get me back on track.
Yeah.
Can you provide me with that extra information? And that's what I do. I give them that missing information. When I call the missing lesson at school, what we should be taught, but weren't.
No. Yeah, it's a bit like training, isn't it? When people ask about training,
absolutely,
people ask you about this and the other, but when it comes to mental health, don't say I'm mentally ill or whatever. That's what it is. If you've got these problems, it's your mind. It affects every side. People say, I'm going to get as big as such and such. You won't do anything if you're not mentally helping. Mental health out the window. And with training, as it makes your mental health better, doesn't it? Because it puts that gamma in the beta, dopamine, everything in your brain, which is illegal. It's not it's a legal high. It doesn't cost nothing. You don't have a come down. It's really good for you. So getting in the gym is a really good thing, or walking, anything, getting out of the house. But the worst thing you do is I call it ruminizing, just sitting in the same room looking at 4 walls. What if he said this? What if she did that? What if he did that? What if he did that? And it just goes on and on and on and on and on. It never ends.
L71.
Hi,
thank you, Brian, for me and my son have been watching the videos together. It's the first thing we've done as father and son. But he also said my wife walked out on me and left me with 4 kids, and I really struggle. But I'm just trying to do my best. How would you deal with that?
Well,
you're dealing with it now, aren't you, mate? So what you're doing is amazing, and just keep doing what you're doing now, and try not to worry about things as much. Because obviously you've got to be there for the kids, but if you ever need a hand around kids,
you've lost.
Well said, Steve.
The wrong part of the relationship is now gone. She's done you a favour, in the end. And now, what you've got now, you've got the space left for someone brilliant to join your life.
Brilliant.
I mean, the fact that you've got 4 kids and you're taking them on, right? That means you are one of the good guys out there.
It's fantastic.
And there's a good woman out there for you, right? All you've done now, you just took out the trash. I'm sorry if it's blunt, but you have. And you've got the space now because there's some amazing women out there that will literally just come in there and they will love you and they will give that house everything it needs again.
And you've got the good thing was she could have left for the 4 kids, you'd be on your own, so you still got your kids, so you're not a better person that person's left you.
You are, mate. You know, give it time, and things will be better.
But we're always here for you, if you need us, mate. Yeah.
Oh,
Anyone
that's
else?
lovely. Yeah. Where is it? Where's it gone? Oh, it leads this way.
Highly.
Takes a lot for me to snap, but I seen red mist, and last time it happened, I had my mate pinned on the floor with a hammer raised in the air, ready to strike. I feel so ashamed. As soon as I realised he said he didn't actually do it, but fighting didn't the actual
but the
thing that he'd got to that level.
Yeah, well, you've realised that then, so you've got to realise before you get to that level, hasn't he? Yeah, because what if, I know it sounds crazy, what if you hit him, you'd be doing life and you lost your friend?
He said it's crazy, but I believe we all have the ability to snap.
Of course, everyone else, yeah.
But he said it's, because we know him and it's not like him at all.
So the key here, right, is self-reflection.
Yeah.
Right. So you did it, but you didn't actually do it.
Yeah.
Something inside you pulled you back before you did it. So now you've got an opportunity now, right? There's two different envelopes on the table, right? You can now look at what you did and say, why did I do it? Am I right, twat? I'm this, I've got this problem, that problem, right? That is not going to get you anywhere, right?
No.
By doing it. Smashing yourself up, beating yourself up, calling yourself a load of rubbish, that's not going to do anything. The other table on the table, other envelope says this: what can I learn from that? What can I do differently next time? Or what can I learn that would prevent that from happening in the first place?
Yeah.
That didn't happen just by no reason. That was probably a build-up of different events and different things that have happened in your life. And it's you've got to that crescendo part where the smallest thing then tipped you over the edge. So you really need to look at your life, your lifestyle, how you're living your life, saying, well, how can I improve it? Am I doing the right things?
Yeah.
That's it. Am I sleeping well? Am I eating well? Am I keeping off drugs and all those other things? You've got to look at your life and be brutally honest with yourself and say, is the path I'm doing now, is it going to lead me towards the happy place? If not, what do I need to change?
I think when I was on the drugs, you make excuses to keep on them. You'll go, oh, she done that to me, and he did that in the past, and I didn't really drink. Or you get people who drink going, I'm going to drink because you're shouting at me, or men will come home with the wife and they'll argue, go, beans on toast again, I'm sick of this, and go to the pub. It's an excuse to leave this. So they don't want to stop, and they're in denial. So you have to, when you want to stop anything, you've got to say, look at yourself in the mirror. That's what I do.
Yeah.
And as if I'm talking to a kid and go, what you doing? You behave yourself, and I'll do that. Don't sound crazy. No. It's a way of saying, stop being an idiot and get yourself right. And
well, there's an old,
thank God I'm okay now.
The old saying, isn't it? Yeah. Have a word with yourself.
Yeah, I like that.
Have a word with yourself. Look in the mirror, and there's nothing crazy about looking in the mirror and saying to yourself, what was I about to do there? And really, was that the best option? Is there anything else I could have done? And give yourself a good talking to at times. We all should do it.
Yeah, I do it all the time. She said, you talk to myself. And she said, talk to yourself. I said, yeah, but I get so good questions, and I get all the right answers.
I think the problem is when she sees you kissing the mirror.
They're all broke now.
Leave work did you right? It was, my mate was finding me up all day long.
Yeah.
About a van, and we both were sharing. He's continuing going on, and I just snapped. Yeah. So it's just something in us.
Yeah.
And then somebody else had said,
but it doesn't have to be permanent. Yeah. Do you know when people say like it's something in me that I do?
Yeah.
In reality, that's something that you have done, but you carried on doing it.
Right.
Self-reflection is the key. Is look, how is this working for me? What do I need to make? I need to make some changes with it. That's going to be the key there, Lee.
He said, thank you for your advice.
No problem, Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Julia, I know Julia's watching, and Julia's neighbour, she struggles with, she has like no motivation, and she suffers real bad with depression, and she just can't seem to snap out of it. Yeah. And she just closes herself off from everything.
Yeah.
She didn't even ask the question.
So I'll talk about motivation for you then, right?
Yeah.
So if you've got no plan, how can you get motivated, right? You've got to have something that you're working towards in order to be motivated. So if you're just like sitting around waiting for motivation to come, how is it going to come?
Yeah.
How can it you can't generate it out of nothing.
No.
You've got to have something that you're working towards to get motivated to do it. So I would look at her life and say to her, do you have any ambitions? Do you have any things that you're working towards? What are your dreams and goals? And if you haven't got any, you'll never get motivated. The only way you're going to get motivated is have something to work towards.
That's why I talk to quite a lot of people, and I say to them, where do you want to be next year? Do you want to be in the same position you are now? Because you've got to get up your backside and do something to motivate yourself. And
this is it.
And you get in the gym, you do a little bit of gym, so you think the more I get up, I'm getting up tomorrow. I'm going to get a wash in the morning, make your bed, get something to eat, and I'm going to do a bit of training. My brother, I've taught him to go out and go down the shops, and he goes out now. He used to just sit in all day watching telly from the dock. He used to be the dock years ago, telly went up, and now we brainwashed with the telly. I'll get up, and then you're in that program, like Joe Dispenza says, you keep doing the same thing every day. You're in a program, then it's hard to go. So you've got to change. You've got to change the way you outlook in life. You've got to change the way you think. If you don't,
well, everything starts in the moment we wake up.
Yeah.
So when we look at what we call the law of cause and effect, everything has an effect. You throw a pebble into a puddle, it will create a ripple. So if your normal days, you get up in the morning late, you spent all night on Facebook or arsing about doing something late, you've gone to bed knackered 3-4 o'clock in the morning. That means you've got up, you're in a bad mood in the morning. You haven't been to the gym or anything, then you've had something that's not that great for breakfast, or you've missed breakfast. You've set a chain reaction of events that are created by that.
Yeah.
What we need to do is start off the day doing something positive first, and that will have a chain reaction event on the positive. So, like every morning I get up and have a coffee, I get my gym gear on, and I go to the gym. That then knocks on the fact that once I've been to the gym, I don't want to have a McDonald's breakfast.
No.
What I want to do is I want to have a protein breakfast.
Yeah.
So that knocks onto that.
Yeah.
Then that changes my mood because of the serotonin that comes from the food, and the serotonin comes from the training. So that's knocking on. I'm already looking forward to my next client at 10:30.
Yes.
I have a good session with the 10:30 client. Then I have a healthy dinner. It's just a massive knock-on effect. Everything we do creates the cause and effect.
Yeah.
So start it first thing in the morning. Make your bed. Get out of bed. Make it all nice. That's the first accomplishment you've done in the day. And then it starts from there.
What I like to do, I like to do before, I won't go to bed without the pots in the sink. When they get up the mucky pots and things like that, I won't have it. So I wash the pots, keep it all clean. So everything's done. So when you get up, you've got nothing to do. Yeah. I'm watching a bit of television, probably have a coffee, we have something to eat, and we'll run out somewhere.
Somebody said what foods are good for battling depression, just said they have health food, didn't you? Yeah,
so if we look at like foods for depression, and I'll give you some examples of some foods. So when you understand how serotonin is created, 75% of the serotonin that the human body has is created in your stomach. So what you put in here affects up here.
Yeah.
So let's look at meat then first. The two main meats that have the most powerful effect in serotonin are turkey and salmon. Yeah. When people sometimes say, I don't like turkey, it's a bit dry. So what? So what? I don't care. Look, it's not about eating what you want. Otherwise, I'll be in McDonald's every day. Well, actually, it wouldn't. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's eating what you need to eat rather than what you want.
Yeah.
You know. So then it comes down to your green vegetables, your kale, your broccoli, your spinach. Yeah. You know, you only have to put in Google, right? Foods that create serotonin. It will bring you a massive list of those foods. You start eating those foods every day. You start integrating them into your life every day. Your body will naturally start to create more serotonin. So when people go to the doctors and they're getting these pills, oh, I'm lacking serotonin. Well, but what are you eating? Oh, takeaways, fast foods, microwave dinners. Well, your body can't materialize the serotonin without the right fuel.
It's like when I was talking before, all the vitamin things on the YouTube channel here, just on here. If you don't take vitamin D when if you don't sun about, you get depressed, and it also raises your natural testosterone. So the vitamin D, you get out of home banks. You don't have to go to the big health shops. It costs a fortune. You go in there, have a couple of them a day. Vitamin B12, another one that gives you one, or hemoglobin in the blood gives you energy. All these things you need, especially if you're a vegetarian, things like that. You need to have them. Iron tablets or things like that. You've got to have them. So a lot of it is to do with not right. If you're not eating the right foods, like say, you are what you eat. Simple as that.
People find money for things that they don't need.
Yeah, cigarettes.
You know, like people say, I use vitamin D every day.
Yeah.
It's 360 tablets in the pack. It costs me 15 quid a year. You know. Yeah. Something wrong if you can't allot 15 quid a year. You know, for that.
Socialised, Carol's friends off the channel. Socialised.
Yeah.
And I said, this is something needed tonight. When explained like this, it's easy to understand my own anxiety. Thank you. And he said, it's amazing. When I'm low, I swear, but I crave a lot of green vegetables. That work with my body trying to fight the anxiety.
Absolutely. Yeah. So your body's trying to get the serotonin levels up.
Right.
Yeah.
And you see, when you have foods that aren't good for you, you'll only get a very short-lived rush of pleasure. Yeah. And then you get like a massive boom spike of depression. That is like the comfort eating cycle when you look at it. You eat something because you're not feeling very happy. You get a momentary feeling of happiness, and then it goes away.
It's like eating chocolate. You eat it, or white bread, things like that. You eat it, you get a massive spike in your pancreas because the insulin's produced there. High as a kite, you're about for about 10 minutes, and then you're down. And then it's like eating stodgy food and rubbish food. The next day you get all the times you go to the toilet. It's horrible, and it's just you feel down and depressed. And if you eat proper foods, you feel better and you react better because you've got that. You have your body's healthy, everything is, your hair's healthy, everything, and you just for them few vitamins. I think it's just said, Sonia. I think it works out at 10 a month for all my vitamins, so it's not a lot.
Simon Ambler, Steve, when you mentioned food just now, are you talking about a chemical imbalance?
Well, chemical imbalance. So the question is why do we have a chemical imbalance? Now, quite often when you go to doctors, without even giving you a blood test, they'll probably diagnose you of saying you've got a chemical imbalance. It'll say that you've got bipolar or you've got some imbalance like that. And what they're saying is, we'll give you some pills to try to rebalance the imbalance. In reality, has the doctor really gone through your lifestyle and checked, are you exercising? Are you eating right? Are you sleeping right? What's your lifestyle like? You can't blame doctors because they've got about 5 minutes per patient. So you've got, all they can really do is give you a pill. So in reality, we all have to take responsibility for our own health. We can't just give it to the doctor and say, look, every time I'm going to feel depressed, I'm going to see a doctor and get some pills. So the thing is, why do we have a chemical imbalance in the first place? It's because we're not doing the right things in our life. And if we were, we wouldn't have the imbalance in the first place.
Or taking too much drugs, like I did, or drinking too much.
Drinking too much.
You put the wrong chemicals in your body, your liver starts getting bad, and all these things. Your body's got to be in sync, hasn't it? It's got to be every little thing. It's like anything in life. You've got to look at it. If you've got a healthy body, you've got a healthy mind, healthy body. It's got to be both in sync. It's like going doing weights, and you go. When I was going, when you used to see how much I was training, how much I squat. I done a bench 500 and I said I wouldn't do 6. I did it. But it's in here. I was all stronger in the mind than all the others. While the others were all sitting, can I do it? I was saying, I can do it. I can do it. I can do this. And that's how I surpassed everyone else in the area.
That's the old saying, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right.
Yeah. Now, Georgie Outdoors, I have a question for Steve. Does he know that CBD is now classed as a great new medicine for anxiety? Tell him to research, it might help patients.
Yeah, well, CBD oil. Okay, yeah.
This is the one without the THC, isn't it?
See, I'm not saying it doesn't work, but it's not the solution, right?
They're just masking that. Yeah.
When we look at anxiety, right? What's the cause of anxiety? It is the way we think primarily runs anxiety, right? So does taking CBD oil fix that? No, because the moment you stop taking CBD oil, right, the thought patterns haven't changed. You're still going to run the same thought program that created it. So CBD oil might take the edge off anxiety, but is it actually solving anxiety? No, it isn't.
Do you think it's a bit of a placebo when you take? So you go to the doctors and they'll give you something, and it's like a placebo effect where it's not really doing nothing, but you think it is. And they've done surveys on people that give them 40% placebo, which means there's nothing in the tablet. It's psychological because they think they're getting the tablets better and better. They go, I've done years when I took steroids years ago. You have people that have an injection, go, I'm twice as strong as what today. I think it takes 17 days to get in your system. The people that get bigger already. I put a stone in 2 hours.
When I was 14, they put me on antidepressants when my mum died, and they were really heavy duty ones. Can't remember the name of them. Those were like black and red things, but they're like monkey all day. But then I noticed that it seemed to be going in fads. So then they started with the Prozac. And then I noticed that everybody went to the doctors, no matter what it was, whether it was they come off smoking weed, they come off this, come off that. It was my tazapine everyone was getting. And then I noticed like a pattern. I thought, hold on a minute, they're just dishing all these tablets out to
these pharmaceutical companies are multi-trillionaires. Well, they're the richest people on the planet, these people.
I refuse to take tablets after that.
See, the question is why we need to take tablets and why we need to take these things. The tablets will basically, a lot of the time you get an antidepressant, but you've got anxiety. Now, if you understand the two things that are quite different.
Right.
So if you just give someone an antidepressant and they've got
What's the
anxiety,
difference, just to let people know the difference between depression and anxiety?
well, anxiety is the thinking pattern of imagining the worst case scenarios quite often.
Right. Yeah.
So whereas depression is that feeling at times when you just feel like there's no point to anything, you can't get any joy out of anything, everything just seems dark and stuff. Now, depression, we can't deny that life's events can absolutely.
What gives you depression, Steve? Is that to do with chemicals, or is it just the way you're thinking it makes you down?
It's a bit of both.
Yeah.
You know, there's no doubt if you've had a really bad childhood, you've had horrible things happen to you, that you can get depressed. But the other thing is, why isn't everyone then who has a bad childhood depressed? What's the difference between someone who's had a terrible childhood and goes on to live a great life and somebody who's had a terrible childhood and then becomes depressed?
Yeah.
Somebody just said, what happens if you have lifelong anxiety triggered from childhood trauma?
That's what I think you mean.
Well, okay. So the issue with that is that that person hasn't learned how to process it and move on from it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because you're living in the past a lot of the time, aren't you? So somebody said, if you keep living in the past, you can't live for the day of tomorrow.
The problem with conventional therapy is that.
What does that mean? So
let's say, for instance, you went on the NHS route.
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking CBT.
CBD.
It's I guess it's better than nothing, but why the clients come to see me after having cognitive behavior therapy, it's because quite often they are getting people to dredge up old memories from past negative events all the time, in the idea that by reliving it in somewhere that you're going to move on from it. In my experience,
I'm right, you're right,
it makes them worse. So reliving your past memories about abuse and stuff, that's never going to make you feel better.
That's right. If you think about what the past is making you bad today, you're going to be bad tomorrow, the next day, the next day. Forget about the past. And move on. You can't. If you keep living in the past for thinking the same negative stuff, what you're thinking, it's going to make you ill every single day.
He said he's lived with childhood trauma every day.
Yeah. The problem is obviously, you know, these things happen. It's not just a question of saying, okay, I'm not going to think about that childhood trauma.
Yeah.
Because if you've done it enough times, if you've been processing that stuff every day, it is now becoming like a part of you. It becomes like a habit of thinking. So you wake up in the morning and it wakes up with you.
Yeah.
The problem what you've got is that you don't know how to change it at the moment. And if you go down the NHS route and you go for counselling, when all you're going to be doing is just reliving that over and over again every week, it'll make you worse. What you really need to learn is, how do I move on from this? How do I get to the point where I'm not thinking about this? I've put it to bed. I've put it to rest. I understand it. I'm not denying it's happened, but you know what? I'm not going to live my life, you know, with dictating me anymore.
So how do you say to yourself, today's the day, or I'm not going to think about what happened to me then?
It really is.
How do you do that? Is it not a way of doing it? Is it? It's not like just turn the tap on and off, is it? It's really hard with your brain, isn't it?
The lad said, I've tried
cognitive behavior
therapy. I can't move on from it. I've tried everything.
Yeah. Well, everybody always tells me they've tried everything. In reality, you've tried a few things and you've done your best. And the thing is, the fact that it didn't work for you is actually no reflection on you whatsoever.
Yeah.
CBT.
VD.
It's
CBD. Well, CBT's a you when you know it. Somebody will admit that tonight, though.
What they probably don't tell you is that cognitive behavior therapy is a very low success rate. So everybody goes up and does CBT because that's what the doctor tells you to do.
Yeah. And
it doesn't work for most people. And then you start feeling depressed and down that as if you failed it. I'm here to tell you that you haven't failed CBT. No. It has failed you. Yeah. It was created in 1950, for Christ's sake, right? And back then, before that, they used to electrocute people.
And lobotomize you.
Yeah, lobotomize you.
Yeah, cut your brain
so
out.
CBT is a very ineffective by itself therapy. Now, I know some good therapists who use it, but they never just use CBT. They use it in conjunction with other therapies, and that's why it's better. But if you just go see a standard CBT therapist, what they are literally doing, Brian, is that they're reading from a script.
Yeah.
Like, they've got a list of questions that they're going to ask you. Yeah. And then they're asking you to do often bizarre things.
Yeah.
And it was created by someone who clearly didn't have anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gary Taz Carroll's on.
Hello, Gary, mate. Hey, brother. How you doing, son?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good lad, Gary.
Yeah.
Ex-army lad. Was
Is he?
a para. He was in the Front Legion.
Is your brother?
No, he is my brother. But
he was on YouTube.
No, YouTube the other week. Oh, it's fantastic.
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
He's a real life Rambo.
He's a Scottish guy.
Yeah. Aye. All right there, son. Yeah, he's good lad.
Georgie Abels is saying thank you, Steve. I saw through there. That's one he was saying. He's tried everything.
It's like, I tell you what it's like, guys. It's like going to the gym, and then some people respond on big heavyweight sets of 6. Some people respond to 3 sets of 20. Some people respond 3 sets of 10. Just because the first set of training you've done doesn't respond, you're saying you've been to see somebody about depression or whatever. It might not be the first, second, or third, or fourth. It might be the 5th or 6th thing you do. Get rid of it. I see what you're saying.
How can you snap your brain into that motivation and happiness mode if you just can't see a way out of it?
Okay. First and foremost, you've got to set a goal, right? You know, how do you get excited by life if you've got nothing to look forward to?
I just think about waking up next to my wife every day. My beautiful wife.
Yeah, but they can't do that.
I know. I hope not. The bed's not big enough. No, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. What I do is, you do. Our training is like the church. If you missed it, you're depressed. Even though you're psychologist, whatever. If you don't do that training, things like that, you don't get depressed, but you get fed up.
If you didn't go to the gym, right, and say, I don't know what I'm going to do today.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just going to go to the gym today.
Yeah.
Before you got to the gym, I'm just going to surmise it that you were already planning in your brain what you were going to do.
So,
and that transpired.
And I think that takes the negative things out of you because you're ready for it. And then I'm going to have a nice day and we'll have chops.
You're planning to succeed.
Yeah. But if you're sitting there thinking, no, we'll have another board and do it tomorrow, or you get out of bed and you stub your toe and go, that's going to be one of them days, or you put your top on back to front or something. It's all old wife things in it. Or, I knew I'd get a punch it today. And then you start setting yourself up, like you said, you're looking for the negatives. You'll find the negatives, but you get up and go, what a beautiful day. Oh, I'm going to have a lovely breakfast, and you set yourself up for the positive.
Gary Carroll saying you're a legend, Steve.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Yeah,
thanks.
Yeah, I've told
just
you all
make
about you, mate.
Make a start on something. You know?
Something simple.
Yeah, do you know what? You don't have to say I'm going to conquer the world. Just make a start of some small goal that you want to achieve. Something that's like quite fairly easy to do. It might not be big to anyone else, but for you, it's even just like making your bed in the morning, right? And saying, right, I'm going to get up say 7:30 tomorrow morning. If you normally get up say 10:30 with like a thick head, no, you know what? Tomorrow morning I'm going to get up at 7:30 and make my bed. Yeah. That might be sound like basic, but you know what? It is a start. It's a start of a chain reaction. And then tomorrow, what next? The next day.
Yeah. It's a bit like people who, my brother's house was a mess all over stuff. Where do I start? I said at the beginning, just get up and think, right, get a piece of paper and say, I've got 50 jobs. I want to do one job today, another one tomorrow. And at the end of 50 days, you've done the 50 jobs. You might
that's a big problem with some people who are depressed. The house heads up totally.
You mess everything. The heads, well, everything, it's like they say, people who have a messy house and things like that, I've got the mind's the same as this. So
your house is a reflection of your brain.
Yeah. And I always say to Tony Binge, cleanliness is next to godliness.
Absolutely.
It's one of the main things.
But just make a start, do something.
Yeah, if you keep doing the same single thing every day, you're in ground.
Yeah, because if you look at the whole thing you've got to do, let's say you're in a really bad place now, and you just try to look at the whole thing that you want to be. That can almost seem like a giant mountain to climb. Yeah. Well, if you set something like quite small and easy to do at start, do that first.
Yeah.
Crack that one off. Get that little bit of feeling of, a little bit of self-esteem. Now, you know what? I did that. Even if it was just making your bed, right? You did it at the end of the day. Yeah. And then just build upon those things. And then you start creating more of a habit of living. Really, that's the best way to start things.
Yeah, maybe just even going for a little walk.
Absolutely.
1 minute walk.
Yeah.
Stupid.
But it's one more than yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. And just build up slowly and just say hello to somebody in the street and things. Just build your confidence up slowly, don't you?
Georgie Outdoors, who's been asking you the questions about CBD and all that, he said, has Steve ever suffered from anxiety, and how did he start being an anxiety specialist? So he must have missed the beginning.
He must have missed the beginning.
So I had anxiety for 15 years, really bad anxiety, and I basically self-cured myself through reading information, understanding how the brain worked, understanding how the body worked, how serotonin worked. And then I decided I was going to learn to do it. And I went over to a place back in the day. It was over in Gisborough, a place called Natural Therapy Centre, and I trained 2 really good guys, Professor Stephen Russell and another guy called Dennis Rush.
Right.
And they were both hypnotherapists and psychologists, and they basically taught me over that period of 2 years. And I've never stopped learning since. I've been on multiple training courses since, and I'll be honest with you, I tend to find I'm not a technique guy. I'm more of a talky guy.
Yeah.
So, and that was like 25 years ago, and I've been doing that.
Yeah.
Simon Ambler said, Steve, would you say getting into a routine is healthy or not?
It was a healthy routine.
Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, taking drugs and drinking, smoking, no, it's not.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
And then jab to the head said, going back to what I used to love doing before the anxiety and depression helped me. So that's quite good.
Yeah. See, the past holds clues, doesn't it? So if in the past if you look at your past, right, and you were happy in the past, then you had a formula that worked. You look at yourself now, what you're doing, you say to yourself, am I using the same formula? And I'll guarantee you're not using it.
Yeah.
You've now changed that winning formula, and like, you know, you're probably not training, you're not eating right, you're not thinking right, whatever it is, but you're not using the formula that works.
I think a lot of people get it when they get to when they get in the late 40s, 50s, when the testosterone starts going down, especially in men, and a lot of killing themselves. I don't know the ratios, so many a day, committing suicide because they can't do what they used to do. The sex thingy comes down, the testosterone drops. They've got a bit of weight around the waist, but you can get rid of all that just by going to the gym. But you don't even need a gym. There's a stairmaster on your stairs, walking down the stairs.
Absolutely.
You know, eating the proper foods and don't eat late at night and cutting out white breads and things like that, and sugars and things like that. It's not rocket science, is it?
No.
You look at it and you think, well, I'm not having a tin of Coke, but 12, 14 spoonfuls of sugar in it, so just have the diet max.
You've just got to fight it, haven't you? It's like,
of course, yeah.
No, all right, you know, I'm 50 this year, so my testosterone levels aren't what they once were.
Yeah.
But what do you do about that? You just keep fighting it. I still go to the gym every day.
I'm not reason you've told that, I've told you.
Yeah, well, like twice. This is a polar bear stood beside of me, I thought. Trying for the dog.
No, Brian's reflecting it. Oh, I'm not feeling it. Nothing gets past Brian.
Yeah. Sat here, I was people here. Well, he can't beat the right food, he's shaking. Yeah, you've got it. You can't just, there's nothing, people feel sorry for yourself. It's another one. Oh, I'm drinking because he said, she said, he said, she, all that rubbish. And then they're winning the people who are doing that to you. Anyone who's trolling you, things like that. You start doing stupid things like taking drugs or drink, you're obviously getting beat when they're affecting you. So if you don't respond to them, right, you cut off that narcissistic fuel, then they've got nothing to argue, start arguing themselves.
One of my favourite quotes is, if you argue with a fool, it proves there is two.
Yeah, I like that.
Gary Cockerill, Stephen, I watched your work with the homeless was awesome, the Christmas one.
That wasn't me.
Oh.
I didn't think so. Right.
Although I did have a Christmas, I did a Christmas thing on when I give away 100 books at Christmas.
Oh, did you?
But I
That's
didn't,
lovely.
you know, that was just from people that wanted it.
Yeah.
And they couldn't afford them.
Yeah.
All I can say is this advice is better than any doctor could or would give. Thank you.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Georgia, Steve has put me onto a new goal to achieve. I
Brilliant.
want to study the brain. Thanks, Emma, Brian, and Steve. That's the lad who you've been talking to.
That's
so
brilliant.
he's got a new thing
That's
now.
the first, that alone there, just doing that, is starting you thinking the right way.
So, yeah.
It's, you know, it's a bit like, it's about, you know, when you go and see someone, you're talking, and like me and you talking now, our subconscious is, we're talking, so we don't think about.
We haven't planned any of this.
No, I'm saying, you know, you talk to someone and you talk to them and you go, I don't feel thinking because you listen to what I'm saying, but if I stop for 5 minutes, they just start thinking, oh, what if this is going to happen? But doesn't it start going on?
That's amazing, isn't it? How is Geordie
It's like going to bed, isn't it? People go, I need to go to sleep. Right, I'll go to sleep, but what if he said and she said? No, forget that.
Overthinking's the killer.
Yeah.
Overthinking's the happiness killer. Because when we look at the word overthinking, over anything's no good. Overeating, over drinking, over sleeping, no matter what it is, you've gone over the line. So, and that's what people are doing. And it's not always people's fault. I mean, let's face it, recently, who hasn't been overthinking about what's been going on last 14 months? I mean, I'm not sitting here saying that Steve Norton has gone through this pandemic and like he's been completely not affected by it. God, it's been tough on anyone, Brian, isn't it?
Yeah, really.
You know, we're only human beings. I'm not Superman. You know, we've all been affected, but I know I'm like Robin next to you.
Yeah, so I think
a lot of people, isn't it?
Of course it has, but a lot of people have got the feel like Steve. You think about it, what if I get nothing out of this? I mean, you just go on forever. People are staying in, not even coming out, not going to the shops to get any food.
I always say to people, why not flip what if?
Yeah.
What if it doesn't?
Yeah, brilliant.
What if it's a great night? What if it turns out that she's the best woman I've ever met in my life? What happens?
Yeah, people have a fear of doing. They've got to
you don't
meet someone. Yeah.
What if doesn't have to be negative all the time. You can actually flip what if into the positive. You just need to get in the habit of doing it.
Well, I'm not going out. I don't go out, mate. I'm not going out.
Because a lot of people fear change, don't they?
Yeah. What if you're older people? Take older people. What if they book someone? No, just what he's right. What he's saying, you can think to the stars and to the moon and back, and you can infinity, and just thinking and thinking and thinking. I call it racing brain, mate. Your brain's racing. I used to do it myself years ago. I just stopped myself from doing it. I go to bed and go to sleep easy now. Then before we go, he's doing that, and she said that, and he said, you just go on forever, can't you? You're actually torturing yourself, really. That's what you're doing.
Well, your thoughts aren't real anywhere.
No.
All you're doing when you're overthinking is making movies in your mind of events that you don't want to happen.
Yeah.
You know. So, but what you really think is, but by thinking what can go wrong, I'm helping to prepare myself just in case it does.
It does.
But in reality, what you're really doing is that you're just creating anxiety, or another way, you're actually planning to fail through your own thinking. You're rehearsing problems, so the more chances of them actually happening.
And creating that negativity around you.
Yeah, and you're thinking of things that don't even exist. It's like tomorrow.
So your mind doesn't know the difference between a real event and an imagined event.
Yeah.
So when you're in the house thinking about what you don't want to happen, your mind sees that movie that you've created and will then send you chemicals that will go up and down your body, and there won't be very pleasant chemicals. So you've got to be careful what you think about.
I think another thing is really good as well. I'll go and just listen to music, the earphones, listen to nothing else, or I'll just
Kylie Minogue.
I'll listen to like music where nothing else is bothering me, and just block my mind off.
Yeah.
Or I'll lay on the bed and I'll listen to the bed, or just meditate sometimes and clear your mind so that you're conscious. Because a lot of people, it's the subconscious actually makes you ill, doesn't it? Because your subconscious, you can't control it. So that's where you have your nightmares and all the other things from. So
I look at the mind as like, I own it, I run it.
Yeah.
I'm the operator of it.
Yeah.
And if I just let it, go on autopilot and just that way, when you just do that, you're like sitting in the back of a bus.
Yeah.
Like, where's it going to end up today?
Yeah.
You've got to be driving that bus.
Yeah.
You've got to be the operator of your brain.
You're right about them chemicals as well, because when I used to go through that stage of thinking the worst, like I wouldn't open mail, I wouldn't take the dog out because I thought I was going to get attacked, the dog was going to get attacked. In the end, I ended up turning all telly off and all sounds, and I would sit there absolutely terrified but wouldn't move, and it'd get to the point where I'd sit in total silence on the stairs, but I'd make myself that ill, and I'd be there for hours and hours and hours just in the same position. So that's created all that yourself, isn't it?
All yourself in your own brain, You'll do that
It's an imaginary world.
Isn't it how you can...
Anxiety is the imaginary world.
Well, it is, isn't it? Like you said, what if? What if what?
No. Let's face it, right? If you could really predict the future, right, through your own thoughts, why are you working the job you do? Wouldn't you work in the stock market? Your thoughts are just thoughts. They're not real.
No.
Otherwise, just imagine your car outside now is a Ferrari, and it would be a Ferrari.
But it's not real.
No, it's not real. Your thoughts are not real.
You've got a Ferrari out there. Same for me.
Alan Hannon said, I never thought...
I know you said, it's right,
Alan Hannon said, I never thought I would get depression or anger issues, but here I am on 200 milligrams of sertraline.
So is it working, sertraline, for you? If you're still angry and you're on 200 milligram of it, it's fair to say it's not working.
Yeah.
But remember, what anger is caused by, it's caused by expectations.
Yeah.
Lining things up in your life that you hope will happen, but they're actually set to fail. It's like imagine you had a friend that was always going to be letting you down, but then you keep thinking that one person's going to do it that day, and you set that up and then they don't do it, so then you're angry with that person, but that person's never going to do it. Relying on someone that's unreliable is going to make you angry because they're always going to let you down. Right. You need to change your expectations then you'll change your anger.
It's like training. When I say to people, they go, don't set goals that are not achievable. Set goals that are achievable, because if you don't get the goal, you'll be depressed with it, don't you? You let yourself think, oh, I failed. You haven't failed. It's like people in the training, the 10 stone, they get the 12 stone. You've achieved. You can only be the best version of yourself. You can't be. Everyone can't be Arnold Schwarzenegger. They all can't be the top runners in the world or whatever. You just be the best version of yourself, and you've achieved something good, and you've done well in your life.
Your only competition is yourself at the end of the day.
Gary Hannon, who said he's on the search lane, he said, no, it's not working. He's in court, sentencing on the 21st of the 5th, 21. So he's still getting angry. So the search lane hasn't worked.
Yeah. So obviously, there's so many different issues that can cause anger. There could be an underlining thing from your past that's happened that's still pissing you off now, that you haven't been able to work through, and fixing your own mind. It's still there, coming up, and because it hasn't been resolved, it's coming out in anger. That's obviously possible too, especially if it's causing aggression. That can quite often happen when someone's had some sort of physical abuse in their early childhood or whatever, and you're then reacting to that still now as an adult.
Yeah. Ian Ford said, how long can PTSD symptoms take to come on?
Everyone's different, really. It all depends, really. It comes in different forms. I find PTSD, quite often I get a lot of clients come to see me and they tell me they've got PTSD, and they haven't got it. No, I mean, when we think like the classic PTSD with, like, Vietnam War and stuff, and seeing horrible things. Yeah. But obviously that's
what is PTSD? What is it?
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah, it's for people.
So a lot of people I find have been diagnosed with it, and they haven't actually got it.
Yeah. I was diagnosed with that. Yeah. I might not have it.
You've been to Vietnam.
There's been a few choppers of it.
Choppy.
So yeah, I mean, so I've had clients come to see me, and they've been told that they've got complex PTSD, and honestly, we've had a few sessions and they haven't got PTSD anymore. So I actually think it's often a cop-out for some of these people. I'm not slagging them all off. I don't slag professionals off. No. But some of them, if they don't know what they're doing, they'll just label someone as complex.
A lot of the new one is bipolar, and everyone's got bipolar. Every single person's got bipolar.
Yeah, although
it's deflecting it from themselves and saying, well, I don't know how to treat you. So what I'm going to do now with you, Brian, I'm going to give you a complex label, add to it. And what they're really saying is, I don't get a clue what I'm doing here.
Yeah, I don't believe in all that, Steve. I don't believe in all that AHAD and all that. I just think it's a kid, like hyperactivity. Didn't have all that when we were growing up, did they? Yeah.
Do you know, back in the day, I probably would have been diagnosed with ADHD.
I think I would have been.
I would have been,
because I was disruptive. I was bored. I would do things to get attention. Right.
All this polars, all this, like, there's no mediocre. You either feel really low or really. But aren't we all a bit like that?
Everyone does. There's no one. There's not one person in this world has fantastic days every day. Even yourself, Steve. Everyone will have ups and downs on a day. You don't want to, and you've just got to fight through it. Everyone doesn't get up every day and, I've had 100% day to day.
One of the most dangerous things, Bri, is when you start giving people labels.
Yeah.
Right, let me put suggestion again, right? So if you give someone a label that they've got this or whatever, that person can take it on board and then start molding a life around that label and to become that label, literally.
Yeah, I've got a lot of friends who say that they've got this with them and they've got that with them. They haven't got anything with them. It's just their own mind creating it.
Yeah, as soon as clients come to see me, I get them to remove them labels. That's it. Just words.
Yeah.
Just words.
You're right about doctors. You got the doctors. Yeah, I think they get 6 or 7 minutes. And they diagnose you. And they're going to compute. Well, I might as well do that myself. I don't go to the doctor. I never go. That's why I have to go up with my back. But I don't go to the doctors because I just look on the thing and think, well, but there's another thing. People things like people get headache because they haven't got enough water in the brain. Just have a pint of water slowly over an hour, and it'll be go. Yeah. All these things I've got on my YouTube channel, bicarbonated soda with black cherry juice helps to get rid of gout.
Right, okay.
Because the black cherry juice, it's a acidic acid in it, and that helps to thin it out. So that's all. There's always a cure out there. You don't need. I use household remedies like garlic, vinegar, and salt. gargle it, and it's better than antibiotics because the garlic is an antibiotic, natural antibiotic. But people go and get these and paying a fortune in chemists and things for them, and that works a lot quicker. Loads have come on and been using it and drove them over it. But yeah, there's always something on the tip of the day, of course. Yeah.
Somebody's asked, I had true, I had a bad thing happen to me when I was a kid, and I'm still angry about it today. It has really troubled me through life, depression and anxiety. How do I get over that?
So yeah, you've got to resolve it. You've got to put it to bed. I do have methods when clients come to see me where we're able to let go of the past without we actually having to relive it. And that's the thing, is that with modern hypnotherapy, there's certain techniques and tools that we use so that you can let go of the past without you having to go through all the bad experiences. That's the difference between like your regular style therapy that the NHS will offer you. It would be everything's about reliving it and going through it. And how did you feel about when that happened to you?
But wouldn't that make it worse to you? To relive something that was horrific.
Yeah.
So going just
what's he going to achieve ultimately?
To me, that'd be watching a film that would make me sick. You think I'm not going to watch that film again.
Yeah, there's methods and techniques that we use that will help you to let go of that stuff, and we can't erase it. We can't make it, but we can change the way that you feel about it and get a different understanding about it. That'll just help you from
I think that's where the church comes into a lot of knowledge here with Christians, and when you're there, you can pray. God's with you. You can pray to God, and it does exist. It is real. I would be here if it wasn't for him. So, the church can really help you.
Yeah.
Being a Christian really helps me.
Well, it's just another method of reprocessing.
Yeah.
Because when the event happened at the time when you were younger, your brain isn't like what it was now. So your mind's remembering how it felt as a child.
Yeah.
So what you're actually doing every time that you feel the way you do, you're seeing it through a child's eyes.
All right.
Rather than the age that you are now.
Brilliant. That.
Yeah. So
absolutely brilliant. Yeah. So if you look at it as you're older, like now.
It's reprocessing.
It's Tony Green said to me something. Said, you can't, if you're a victim, you can't help being a victim. It's not your fault. It was the person who did whatever did to you. So you're a victim.
But whether you stay as a victim is your responsibility.
That's it. Because you can play the victim, can you, all the time and feel sorry for yourself. It sounds odd, but you've got to be hard. I'm just surrounding yourself. Say, forget about that. You don't really forget about it. It comes up.
Well, if you have been victimized by someone and have traumatized you, and you still allow them to do that, they're still doing it, even though it's not happening.
That's right.
They're still winning.
Yeah, of course.
And you've got to be the winner. You've got to find a way that you can reprocess that in your brain so that you win.
Because if you sit there every day thinking about it every day, it's never going to go.
Yeah.
No, but if you don't know how to do that, you're on a loop.
Yeah.
And that's probably what you're doing now. You're in a loop of thinking that you wake up in the morning and the loop starts. It's not because you're not trying, you're doing your absolute best.
Yeah.
But you haven't had the help enough to get you out that loop.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it?
Took me ages to do that. Ages and ages.
Yeah, and there's another question somewhere here. 2 minutes, I've just gone past it.
Like he said, she said, he said, well, when you're younger, like you said, your brain doesn't fully develop.
That's right.
You're a kid. It affects you a lot more as a kid. So if you're thinking as a kid, when you're older, it's going to affect you as if you're back being a kid again, isn't it? Yeah. Your brain will turn into being a kid again.
When you understand so your brain at times doesn't realise that you've moved on. So ultimately your brain's trying to protect you by giving you these responses to anything that's similar to the thing that you experienced when you were a child.
Right.
It's like your brain doesn't think, oh, well, actually that's 20 years ago that now. Your brain just reacts as if it's yesterday.
Yeah.
So you're getting that same response all the time because you haven't updated the operating system of your brain to say, actually, that was 20 years ago now. I'm now seeing it through a different perspective. You know, there's a lot of people when they've had some sort of abuse, they might feel guilty about it. But looking through the adult eyes, what could you have done? What could you have done back then? You know, in a child's body, in a child's mind, you couldn't have done anything about it. At the end of the day, you were an easy target for someone because of that. So it is all about learning how to reprocess.
Yeah, it's like helping people, and you try to help people, and something happens bad to them. And you can't blame yourself for it because it's not you. You can't fix people, can you? Tony Green said that you fix a car, you fix a computer, fix watches, but you can't fix people.
Gary Foster said, "Thanks, guys, you've made my life easier."
Oh, of course.
Yeah, brilliant, mate.
So
what's the most things that people come to you? Is it panic attacks.
No, right at the moment, it is health anxiety is the number one thing people have.
Think about what's going to happen to them, but
it's
pandemic stuff.
It's a thing whereby it's like, you know, you're almost like checking your body all the time for something wrong.
Yeah, right.
You know, in any small thing, then you jump onto Google. You know what happens when you go to Google, right?
You've got every symptom.
Everything's like, you're either going to get motor neuron or you're going to get cancer.
Yeah.
You're going to drop dead down with something, and it's like you get obsessed with it.
Our mum had to read this digest health instead of health like illnesses, and it was massive, and she would go through it.
What you're saying is you'll go on to something like asthma, and there'll be 20 symptoms. I've got asthma. Then you'll go to something else like cancer. Well, I've got cancer.
Oh,
you can go on forever, can you? You've got them.
You're convincing yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and
I've got cancer.
You don't even believe the doctor, and the doctor says you're fine. Doctors,
what if he's lying?
Yeah, he just doesn't want to tell me the truth.
Yeah. People like that. I've known a few people like that. I've got the dog. What if he's giving me the wrong tablets deliberately? What if these are different tablets?
Yeah. Alan Hanlon said, years ago, I couldn't speak to my dad if someone, when we were kids, was having a go at us on the street. Otherwise, you would get pummeled, probation, and I was saying I have to go and speak to a psychologist.
I'll read that. Couldn't speak to my dad if someone when we were kids was having a go at us.
All right, so you basically couldn't say it was dad. Somebody's having a go at him because your dad would probably say like,
get out there,
sort it out with your
man.
Yeah.
But that was old school. Old school.
Our
mum would say, "Get out there and get that sorted." You know, Scottish and
it was the same when I was a kid. I mean, I remember, mate, when I was about 13, 14 year old. I got a good clip off this lad, and this lad was like, he was like a man mountain. He was like, I remember it was like David and Goliath, right? And this lad was absolutely massive. And he blacked my eye. I got home and my dad said to me, right, when that heals up, you go back to that lad's house and you have a fight with him, sort it all out. I said, all right, and Dad, okay then. So a couple of weeks later, my eye went back to normal. I went on this lad's house, stopped in his door, said, right, hope to sort it out. He went, bang.
Give you another black eye.
I got 2 black eyes.
So the story of that moral is, don't go back.
So it's like, great tip, that one, Dad, But that was the old school, you know, and
people come forward, people like yourself.
It's not like the Rocky movie when you go back and you beat the lad up. It wasn't. It was like
I
got a bigger hiding for knocking on his door.
Yeah.
So, funny old life.
So what do you do, Steve? Any bad thoughts come in or any negative things? How do you deal with it?
Well, the thing is, everyone, right? Here's the thing: everyone has negative thoughts.
Yeah.
Right. But a negative thought isn't something that we should just fear. Fleeting negative thoughts have no power over you. Fleeting negative thoughts are like clouds in the sky. They're just floating past. The only ones that can affect us are the ones that we start ruminating on and start making movies on, sitting there 5 to 10 minutes creating movies and imagining scenarios, turning it into Die Hard 4. They're the ones that affect us. We shouldn't fear our thoughts because they're just passing by. So, it is normal and natural to have negative thoughts.
Thoughts can become things.
What about that ostrich syndrome when you bury your head?
You bury your head?
Yeah, and just don't deal with things and just pretend things aren't going on around you.
Yeah, I mean, if there's genuine things you need to sort out, that's never going to fix anything, is it?
No, not at all.
So you're always just better off sorting it out.
I think you're better confronting your fears, mate. You know, when people say, no, he's going to do this, he's going to just confront your fears, and then that to me it's...
Gary Powell said, guys, I had years of counselling in 2012 after my roadside bomb incident, which happened in 2007. On the Falklands in 2010, locals were being diagnosed with PTSD 28 years later.
Yeah.
It's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. It is difficult, but I always use that old adage, there is a solution to every problem.
Yeah.
You know, and you just keep working on it, and just because you haven't found the solution yet doesn't mean there isn't one out there.
Albert Einstein, just the thing about insanity is doing the same thing every day over and over again. If it's making you bad, to keep walking into the wall, so
right.
That's a sign.
Dave Bryan said, can you ask Steve if he knows the Camino and he has any thoughts on it?
The Camino?
It's a spiritual walk in Spain.
Oh, right, okay.
That was a lizard.
Yeah.
Is that a Komodo?
I've never heard.
Honestly, Dave, I don't know what it is, mate. I will have a little look online, though.
Yeah. And somebody else. What else was it? Where else? Can't see. My eyes are terrible.
So what do you think, before we wrap up, best thing for people to do the anxiety. And do you think it's just like we say,
Simple thing.
tomorrow we've got to get out of bed in the morning, make our bed, brush your teeth, make a bit of breakfast, maybe get out of the day instead of sitting at the city every day doing the same, stuck in that program.
The first thing I would say to yourself is you've got to look after yourself.
Yeah.
Right? There's a reason why they don't put chip fat oil in Formula One cars. Right? First and foremost, like, you got to look after your
Chips
body.
don't taste nice.
You've got to put the right fuel in the car. It all starts with looking after yourself and being honest with yourself and saying, do I treat myself well? Am I balanced in my life? You know, and if it isn't, do the things that you need to do. Not, you know, otherwise you're just going to keep going around in a circle all the time.
Yeah.
You know, anxiety is often telling you that there's something not right in your life that needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
And you can either ignore it and go further down the hole, or you can address it and say, well, okay, why am I feeling like this? What do I need to do? What do I need to change? And then make those changes. And often those changes, Brian, they're not even difficult changes.
No.
You know, they're not even hard stuff. Like getting your ass to the gym is not hard.
Get a shave.
Yeah.
Get out of bed.
And removing the excuses. I haven't got time for that, Brian. I'm too busy with that. Then the same people are on Facebook every night, giving it all this every night.
And then they make themselves ill. They make themselves more and more ill.
Facebook, honestly, it is 95% negative. You're literally opening your brain and pouring in a lot of negativity.
I don't want to know. For 4 months I've been off it. I just go on my YouTube, you know, but 4 months I've been on it.
I use it for my business. That's it.
Emma does it for me. I can't be bothered with it, I'll tell you the truth, because it's just like you say, he said, she said. It's like, it's another bad thing I don't like to do is what's the news. That's happening. I don't believe a word they say. I don't believe a word they're on. She was killed, 25 kids were killed, and he was kidnapped, he got blew up. And I don't want to listen to all this. Yeah. It's like soap operas.
What's it got to do with you?
No, soap Coronation Street. I'm not napping them on. He's telling like, he said, you know, I know, Phil such and such out. Phil such out. Him off EastEnders. I went, what? As if it's real, you know, people really believe that the program they get. Intro, gotta watch EastEnders, and then Coronation Street, and then Emmerdale, and then they're there all week watching these soap operas where they could be doing something.
Make your own movie, make your own life.
Exactly.
You know, don't be sitting on the telly watching someone else's life. You make it. You know, this is the only life you've got.
It makes you depressed.
Yeah. You know, you can't rewind this one. You know, get out and do something.
And it's never too late to change, is it?
No. Well, look at me. All them years I was doing drugs and stuff.
I mean, Brian's 100 now, and
you know,
he's 80-70 years for this podcast.
No, it's been a long one. It's no good make yourself sit and make yourself ill. Get up, get a shave. It didn't take a lot to get a shave, get a wash,
even
get a bit of
get
a bit of food in yourself, but you still need to look after yourself. You jump in the shower, get a bath, things like that, because that's the first thing. When you start getting depression, the first thing is you don't get a shave, you don't get a wash, you smell your armpits, that's the first sign of it. And when you go in the hospitals and you see people, they're all not looking after themselves, like you said, Steve. So that's the best thing to do,
What do you think about all the men's mental health at the moment? You know, like there seems to be a lot of young men taking their life, especially around his side.
Yeah, men are typical snap decision thinkers. So that, you know, where a woman would think it through more, a man is more likely to do that. And the problem with men, and this is something I've said quite a long time, is that most men don't have a go-to male friend that they can actually fully trust and confide with. Yeah. You know, and you know, that's one of the hardest things, is that they feel as if they haven't got that person that they can really, because they think, if I say that to Tony, he's going to take the piss, or he's going to say, oh, what's wrong with you, dickhead? And so they keep it to themselves. They feel as if, like, I don't want to burden anyone. And especially at the moment,
or they feel embarrassed as well.
Yeah, that's right. And it's like, it's hard when you haven't got that go-to person.
Yeah.
Tony Grange, that's what I use.
So, how did you and Steve meet? Did you meet in the gym?
Yeah, well,
I
let him tell him. He tells it better than me.
So obviously I knew about Bry, you know, back in the days of Duffy and all that, because I used to see Duffy out and about. I didn't know Duffy, but I saw him many, many times. But I remember one time I was out in Middlesbrough Fitness World, and I was in there with the gym. I went upstairs and I just seen this guy. I was like, this guy looks like the Hulk. And I also, you had a massive gold chain on too. Yeah, it was like it was a gold chain. It was like something like Mr. T would put on. Yeah. And the first thing I noticed was that he was squatting. What I would say was probably the equivalent of what 3 times more than what a regular bloke who trained was doing. And that's not the amazing thing. The amazing thing was that Brian was by himself. He was like, no one was there to see it. He wasn't doing it to show off. And I'm sure there's many people that see like Brian's videos at times and think, oh, maybe he's exaggerating a little bit there. He didn't do all that stuff, you know. He's got his biscuit. I've seen it. I've seen him do it. I think with my own eyes. And I remember Brian did the squat. Then he turned around and he went. I'm like, yeah, he did it. You know what I mean? It's like, you know. So yeah, anyone that doubts Brian, what he ever once did, he did it. He did it.
I wouldn't say I never did it.
No, but some people do, don't they?
Yeah,
they do, yeah.
So we're finishing now. So Steve, thanks for coming on, mate, and
God
bless everyone. It's always a pleasure to see him. He's a good lad. So
everyone's loved it.
Okay, guys, thanks very much.
Everyone.
Steve, what's your book called?
Oh yeah, your book. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I've got a couple of books. If you go to Amazon.com, How to Stop Negative Thinking by Steve Norton, you can order it there. Cheap as chips. I think it's about £4 on Kindle. It's a no-brainer. Get that. Or if anybody wants to actually have more in-depth help with anxiety, I've got an online program called the Rapid Anxiety Elimination Program. You'll find that on my website, which is anxiety.
We'll put the links.
Anxiety Breakthrough.
Yeah.
That is really good for people who just want to get straight into it. They don't know bollocks. They don't know the terminology. They just want straight to the point stuff. If you like what I say, check out my website.
Okay, guys. Well, thanks very much. I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Cheers, guys. Bye now. God bless.
Never. Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Cool.